So that was Andantino. This is number 28 from Giuliani's Opus 50. And follow the lesson for free and pick up some tips about, in particular, about the texture of this piece and bringing the melody out. But if you're interested, I do have an edition of all 32 works in Giuliani's Opus 50, and there's a link for that in the description. So like many of the works in Opus 50, it's fairly straightforward in terms of what you want to do with the piece. However, the various textures that he presents to you can sometimes offer challenges. So in this particular work, we have a very clear melody in the texture. So that's that upper voice. So you want to practice that melody on its own, get it nice and legato, have the phrasing the way you want it, and then when you throw the accompaniment into the mix, you want to keep the quality of that melody really high. So if you practice the melody first and really get it into your ears, then when you add all the complexity of the accompaniment, hopefully you can retain that high quality melody. I'd probably recommend you practice the accompaniment on its own first. I'm using thumb twice, so thumb, thumb, I, thumb, thumb, I, thumb, thumb, I. And you can just take that first measure and just loop that. And when you put the melody into the mix, you can just play around with the balance to make sure that the melody is the most prominent voice. The bass note can be somewhat prominent and resonant, and then the inner accompaniment can be nice and soft, just to make sure that the melody comes out and sings over top of the texture. So that's pretty much what you're doing. And feel free to do a light, very ultra-light rest stroke in the thumb, just on the first bass note. So rest, free, free, rest, free, free, rest, free, free, rest, free. So once you have that in your hand and have that in your muscle memory, the piece becomes fairly uniform in the way he goes about presenting it. So once you have that, you shouldn't have too much trouble with the piece. But getting over that initial little bump is something you want to make sure you do. In terms of what happens next, we can just do a walkthrough of the piece now because it's pretty uniform in its texture. There's a small change at measure 9, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. So same accompaniment pattern there, even though the melody's more active. So P, P, I, and A. When the final notes are the outer strings, it's I and A. When it's the inner strings, I and M. But we'll talk about that as we go. When you get to the end of measure 4 there, I would slide the 4th finger down. That way 2 and 1 are available for these two notes. Small texture change here. When you play measure 9, I would go P-I, M-I, or let's see. When you arrive at the second beat, I would play P-I-M, A-M. So there I would use the first finger slide down, so 1, 1. That way you end up with your second finger on B and third finger on C. In terms of the right hand fingering through measure 9 there, because of all the 3-note chords, you may end up repeating a finger, but often you can throw in an alternative finger to avoid repetition. It's not a fast piece, it's not the end of the world if you repeat once or twice, but do your best to try to alternate through those melodic notes to make them as smooth as possible. And then you arrive at measure 17, and it's mainly just a repeat. Very nice little piece, strong melody, nice accompaniment. This would be a really great piece for gigs and weddings and other events, or just for your own enjoyment or performance, but nevertheless a very important accompaniment skill as well to learn in the right hand and to become comfortable with.